This video is not for persons under the age of 13. By watching this video, you are declaring that you are above 13 years of age. Welcome to part 2 of this acrylic painting. If you've not already watched the last video, part 1, please go back and watch that and you can get the context of where we are now. But where we are now is I've blocked in the painting and got the main features in. I want to now try and get this image to a detailed level. Now it's not all going to be super detailed, but there are areas that are key to the painting that need to be given a much more greater depth. And I also want to play a little bit with the tonal values as well to get that all nicely balanced. So that's what we're going to do today in part 2. So I've mixed an off-white onto this, it's an oil painting brush, but what I've done is I've put some masking tape around it to tighten it up a little bit, and we're going to do some flicking in a bit. But first of all, I just want to get this a little bit wetter, and it is best really. Let's see if we can, still need a little bit more water in it. There we go. Don't want to paint today. That's better. And what I want is a mixture of things like that and splats, and just to help differentiate it, I'm going to put little scratches and things like that in it and build up texture. I'll get a dry brush and see if I can scrape bits and just experiment with it in that sense. Because we're going to put a lighter white on that, but we don't want to lose all of that nice stuff that we built up earlier either. So it's a delicate balance with this. And we'll be careful around here. We can always rebuild any areas that we need to later on. I don't want to put too much detail around this area here because it's in the distance. I just want to give it an idea of it's similar to this area, which is a lot closer to us. and we'll keep working away like that with this. We can be a bit more aggressive with it once we get to this area. And I'm working a lot with very liquidy stuff, so it'll be transparent now. And when you get to this level, that's what you really want, this round about this area. And while we've got that nice translucent grey, I'm going to put a bit of that there. Certain bits that we want to tone down a little bit. And it's just to make it look a little bit fuzzy and in the distance. Just see if I can add a little bit of that to the foreground. It's like a frost, this, so it's going to have, there's going to be little bits of it here and there, but I can't see very much in the reference image of it in the foreground, so I'm not going to put too much in there. Let's see if I can get a little bit of that in. I'm not being overly deliberate and super precise about this. They're just built up layers that we want to take advantage of. So we're starting to build like a cool atmosphere there. We can rework areas like this where we need to put certain bits like that. I'm literally just using the edge of the brush while it's drying, and reform certain areas. Do that with all these areas here, and do it in a way that looks a little bit like a branch. And again, we are going to be going over all of this, so don't be too over precise about it. So we'll let that dry a bit and then we'll go over that again. So I've had a little go at pre-splatting these things, and something else I will do is join some of these splats up a bit and go like that and Maybe that brush is a bit big. See if we can get and smudge areas, and it's almost like lost and found. Just create interest in various areas. Obviously this is going to go absolutely everywhere when I didn't want it to, but what can you do? You can always, you know, if it goes into this area, we can paint. I mean, all of this is an underpainting, so it's all going to be gone over anyway. Putting a slightly darker and you can see what I'm doing. I'm creating like a lots of blobby areas like that, and what it's meant to be is frost that's got onto some of the leaves and various bits of bracken and wood that you would find in a forest. In some areas I'm just going to completely blot out like that. And again we can go through, once it's at a stage where it's kind of starting to dry, we can scratch out so we've just got this area and that area to join up, so we'll just using the brush really for control. Let that fuzz out, because there's going to be brackeny kind of stuff in the background as well, so you know, slight areas of it. I'm going to pick up a bit of dark paint and superimpose that onto the image that we've got. Don't want to overdo this, but I've got to get it right. There's a tiny amount of it there that I forgot to it's not major, but just gives you an idea. And again, we'll add a little bit. And I'm going to again emphasise up here the fact that that is a bit foggy. So the top end of these things I'm going to fuzz out a bit. You see how that's fuzzing out? And blend that in there. We can do some last little bits of playing with that. Helps give it some sort of direction. Give it some random texture-y kind of stuff. Something you can do if you've got nails, which I haven't, is scrape it. So we'll let this now dry and we'll move on to another area. Let's take a look at our deer now. I want to make a slight alteration to the shape of it and give its back end a bit of a bit more beef, you want to call it that, and bring it, I don't know if you can see that actually, but I'm going to make that a bit more rounded there. That is the highest point on the body there, apart from the head obviously, but on the body, that in the reference image looks a lot bigger. So I'm going to like put some more colour in that, although this area will be fairly light because light is coming from this direction. So this area will be a curved blend of light into this. But before we go any farther, we'll start getting some other tones and details into the rest of the body. So I've mixed a very light creamy colour, and I'm going to make it fairly watery, and we're going to work that in, because the only tonal value that we haven't got on it is the fairly light colours. I did the mid-tones and the darks just to really get the basic shaping, but there is quite a bit of light tonal value in the image as well. So we've given that a lighter value. And that then blends into the dark areas, which we'll paint later. And again, we'll do a similar kind of thing in this area and start blocking out various detailed areas. So it's got this like fairly light area around here, and then it splays out and you get another light area there, and that comes around like that a little bit. So we're starting to pick out various areas, and that's what's going to help us make us detail. See if we can get a bit slightly too light that, I think. And all of a sudden all the light's gone. But that's British weather for you. See if we can start getting that back. And around here we've got, around the eye, it's got like a patch of light area. And it really is about picking the detail out now. Let's see if I can, I mean, things like this on top of the nose. And it's got a little highlight there. An highlight in the eye. And another highlight over there in that eye. But it will come together a lot more once we start getting the other dark areas in. I mean, it don't look right at the moment, but we'll get there eventually. And I just want to, seems to be a little bit wrinkly there. A little bit more there. And you can play with this for hours and hours, but just be careful not to overwork it. Well, that's as much as I'm going to do for the time being with these highlight bits. I'm going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum now and look at the dark points on the painting. Right, let's get the darker areas in and see if we can create more definition. So that's a definite dark area, and we've got an eye that needs making a lot darker. And we can leave that area there unpainted because it helps create that highlight. Because it's a slightly lighter colour than the dark. Now while we're here, I want to redefine the antlers. And again, it's not something that I'm going to be spending hours and hours on. I just want to give it an idea that they're a set of antlers. There you go. And same again here. Here I want a little bit of darkness. And a bit of mid-toning with it. At this side, because the light's coming from there, we're going to have a darkish area. And I've got some dark browns and light browns all laid out at the moment. And keep detailing a little bit. Getting some of these very dark areas in just to make sure that we're getting some definition in, because it's a fairly mid-range set of colours, this. And like I said earlier, I'm not really an acrylic painter. Really, it's a bit alien to me, this. But we have a go at these things, and we learn from them. And you can always apply a lot of these particular techniques to various types of artwork. So I'm blending a little bit of that in like that, and that's helping to build up that darkness. I'm saying that this painting will be very heavily influenced by my very loose approach to painting, so you shouldn't really, with me, expect any kind of hyper detailed work. fairly loose in what I do, and it's just what I've got used to over the years. It takes a while to get used to doing loose painting, but once you get into it, there's no problem with it. So let's look at the darker colours now. I'm creating like a burgundy, a dark burgundy, and that's going to be for the underside here. And I'm just, it's virtually silhouetted this, so I'm not going to be overly stressing out about it. And it's just bringing that darkness back to the thing itself, and I'll do that with everything. That there helps differentiate because there's a little bit of light leaking round that, and again, I'm not trying to be overly detailed again. A few more touches and I'm not really sure as to whether I'm done or not. I'll have to look back at it for a bit and see whether I feel that there's anything else that I can add that will make it any better. That's what you have to really gauge it against. Will what I add make it any better? And if not, then you're done. Your painting is done. So for a little bit there, and I think that is my deer done. I just want to like go back and generally make some adjustments in the final painting as a whole, but that's the deer done. Okay, we've done with the deer for the time being. I'm gonna put a little bit more emphasis on this area here and put a teeny bit more detail in with a bit more strong white. And again, it's doing what we did earlier, but I just want to re-emphasize certain bits. Just a little bit here, and maybe let's see if we can put a bit of just create interest. I'm going to make this area here as though it's a little bit grassy. Teeny bit of detail in there. And just using up some of the paint now. I try to be frugal if I can. and flicks here and there. Don't be doing it too much though. It is background, that area. If we can differentiate that from and that is it mostly done. I'll call that basically finished. So what have we done today with this one? Well, in part one we blocked it all in and got some basic tonal values in, and blocked out the trees and blocked out the deer. And in part two we've put detailing in various parts and toned down some of the areas here, and then focused in on the deer itself and got the detailing in on that. So I hope you've enjoyed these two videos, and this has been part two, and we'll see you again in another video, whether that be an acrylic painting or a watercolour. We don't know, we'll have to wait and see. So see you again, and don't forget to click the like button, really important that. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you, and see you later.